Welcome back to another tabletop review. Today we'll look at the Phoenix Arms HP22A semi-automatic pistol. If you've watched many of my reviews, you may have heard me talk about a number of inexpensive small caliber handguns that were made by the thousands by a number of small U.S. gun manufacturers, all related one way or another to the George Jennings family in the Southern California area during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. This Jennings J22 is a good example, probably one of the worst, most dangerous firearms ever made. In fact, the quality was usually so poor it earned them the nickname of junk guns. Because they were plentiful and cheap, they also became popular with the criminal element and earned the additional nickname of Saturday Night Specials. The Phoenix HP22A pistol is indeed a descendant of that less than honorable heritage. But as its company's name implies, and based on internet reviews of the HP22A, Phoenix Arms seems to have created not necessarily a great gun, but at least a fairly respectable firearm from the ashes of its past lineage. Just a short while back, I was browsing at a gun store when I came across this Phoenix HP22A. I remember seeing these for sale for about $150 just last year, and the year before that for about $100 new. The price on this one now was about $200. The store owner and I are friends and started talking about the history of these guns and how the prices keep going up. His view was that regardless of the Phoenix Arms Company's history, if you stick to using the right ammo, the HP22A has actually been pretty reliable and a good little shooter for the money. He also said that they were very popular and therefore hard to keep in stock. In fact, this one was his last one, left from a bunch he had just gotten in, and he had been waiting months for this last shipment. A quick internet check verified his claim. Most online dealers were out of the stock at the time, and his price was indeed competitive, so what the heck. I decided to buy this one. Now let's make sure this gun is cleared first. By the way, if you enjoy this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now, since I've covered the history of the Jennings line of firearms and the Ring of Fire companies in depth in earlier reviews, I'm just going to provide a few highlights here. As bad designs and even poorer manufacturing goes, you couldn't find much worse than the Jennings line of guns. The poor design and even worse quality led to litigations that resulted in these Ring of Fire companies shutting down but starting back up again under new names over and over again. Not a proud history, I'm afraid. George Jennings started Raven Arms back in the 70s. The Raven Arms factory burned down in 1991. George Jennings retired and sold the designs to Phoenix Arms, which was owned by his ex-wife, his children, 4 grandchildren, and by Raven Arms' former general manager. So Phoenix Arms grew out of the original Raven Arms pistol line. Phoenix Arms eventually replaced the Raven MP25 it was producing with 2 new designs, the Phoenix 22 and 25 caliber HP and HP 5-inch. The HP 22A is the latest rendition, but basically the same gun. As far as I can see, Phoenix Arms is the sole surviving Ring of Fire gun company still producing firearms today. The only other Ring of Fire company that might start producing again is the Jennings Arms company that went bankrupt in 2020. But the Jennings 22, in my opinion, is a much poorer design than this HP22A. I don't have Jennings, but I do have an earlier Brico 25, basically the same gun. In my opinion, these original Raven-based design guns are indeed junk guns, and if they're never produced again, it certainly wouldn't be a bad thing. The Phoenix is a different design and is known for its optional 5-inch barrel, as well as an odd set of safeties, and its zinc alloy frame and slide with steel barrel. The Phoenix, like other Ring of Fire guns, is also known for being available for a very low price. Now recently, one of the weird things about the Ring of Fire guns has been how people seem to be buying them up. Just a year or two ago, these guns had no value in the market. You could buy a used Jennings, a Raven, Brico, Jennings, or Lorison for $25 to $50. You could even buy a new Phoenix for about $100. But something really strange has been going on these past couple of years. I've been following auctions, and I've noticed that these junk guns continue to sell for higher and higher amounts, like closer to $150, even $200 today. Keep that in mind, that people are also paying shipping and transfer fees of about $50 on top of that. And perhaps more importantly, there are a bunch of videos on the internet today that appear to suggest that, at least for the Phoenix HP22A, that it's been demonstrating fairly decent function and reliability. That was quite a surprise. As for packaging, the Phoenix HP22A 3-inch model comes in a simple cardboard box with a manual and one magazine and a lock. Or you can get the HP22A 5-inch model in a plastic lockable case along with a cleaning kit. Or there's a deluxe range kit model that comes with both the 5-inch and 3-inch barrels, lockable case, extended magazine, and everything else. And Phoenix will sell all the elements individually to you at a reasonable price. A 3-inch barrel will cost you about $24. A barrel conversion kit sells for about $50 and includes a 5-inch barrel and an extended magazine. I decided to go ahead and buy one of these, and it arrived in under a week. Not bad. As for specifications, the HP22A is the 22 model, and there's also a 25 caliber model, the HP25. The frame and the slide are zinc alloy, and the finish is either black matte or satin finish. It's a single action semi-automatic. The mag release is here. The magazine is a staggered 10 round magazine, standard velocity 22 long rifle ammunition only. There are 3-inch and 5-inch barrels available. The rear sight is adjustable for windage. There's a slide mounted firing pin block here. Manual safety is here. And there's a magazine disconnect. This gun can't be fired without a magazine in place, and the magazine cannot be removed without engaging the manual safety. The overall length is 5.5 inches. The overall height is 4.1 inches. Unloaded weight is 20 ounces. As for function, I found this gun to be fairly dry and tight when I broke it down for the first time before heading to the range. The components seemed to be tightly fitted, and the action felt a little gritty. The takedown slide, or the takedown unit here, was too stiff to move by hand. I had to use a piece of plastic to aid with moving it forward. Once cleaned, oiled, reassembled, working the slide action, the gun began to smooth out. Repeated forward movement of the takedown unit here loosened it up as well. Loading the 10-round magazine with some CCI standard velocity 40 grain target ammo was easy and actually better than I expected. The magazine is steel and seems fairly well made. It fits firmly into the well. The release is here and requires that the slide safety be on. The magazine does not fly out when released. By the way, Phoenix Arms warns against carrying this gun with a round in the chamber and warns that if dropped, the gun could accidentally fire. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Phoenix HP22A has some odd safeties. However, I suspect their design reflects some of the litigation history of the ring and fire companies. I don't know for a fact, but I suspect that the inclusion of the magazine, hammer, and slide safeties and how they interrelate are a result of a sort of an overreaction to safety problems for which the earlier guns were known. The result of these safeties is that the gun is somewhat complicated to fire. However, once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. The worst of the safeties is the magazine disconnect and the fact that you can't move the slide with the safety on. There's an easy solution for that, which involves removing a little bit of the slide safety and a little bend of an easily reached internal part under the left grip. There are plenty of videos out there on that fix, so I won't go into it here, since this is only a range gun for me, and I plan to leave the safeties as they are. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use some dummy rounds here. In order to fire the gun has to be on fire in order to rack the slide. And then in order to fire, you have to disengage the hammer block. And that basically allows us to fire the gun. The take up to the wall is gritty sounding and about 1/4 inch. Trigger pull past the wall becomes heavier, feels like about 10 pounds. The trigger travel to reset is about 1/4 inch, and the click is very light and barely noticeable. All in all, it's not a bad trigger, and I suspect it'll smooth out and get better with use. As an all-metal 22 pistol, recoil is minimal. You can shoot this gun all day. It's common for new 22s to have some issues as they break in, and I usually expect them to get smoother with use. But this gun had no problems right from the first round. As for accuracy, with the 3-inch barrel at 24 feet, maintaining an 8-inch spread was fairly easy. I switched out the 3-inch barrel for the 5-inch and found my accuracy did improve a little. The biggest con for the Phoenix is its lineage, which is so bad it's something it may never overcome. Beyond that, the multiple interlocking safeties on this gun are a major complaint, but there's an easy fix if that's an issue for you. There's also complaints about frame and slide cracks developing, but it's my understanding that those have usually been traced to using high velocity ammo. Keep in mind that only standard velocity ammo is approved in the HP22A. Also, remember that you shouldn't try to carry this gun with a round in the chamber. Personally, I found the takedown procedures with the safety combination, the stiff takedown mechanism, and free recoil spring to be irritating. There are those that feel that the cast zinc and aluminum alloy construction of the slide and frame is a cheap way to produce a gun, and they'd be right. But that's not to say that it doesn't work or that the gun is dangerous or unsafe. True, the satin finish may not be very attractive, and there's no argument that the HP22A is not finally finished. But today, there are very few complaints about the HP22A failing, and many reports of many thousands of rounds being fired without any problems. Now, surprisingly, the Phoenix HP22A works, and there are a lot of reviews on the internet that will attest to that. I know, isn't that the basic thing you would expect? So perhaps that's not saying very much, but it helps to keep in mind what you paid for this gun, which in today's market looks like a real bargain if the gun functions well enough, and I'd say it does appear to. In my opinion, the HP22A is a much improved design over the old Jennings junk gun Raven 22 format that was indicative of the Ring of Fire guns. Probably the biggest pro is indeed the fact that you can get this little 22 or the 25 pistol for about $200 today. That's pretty good. And the 22 should be pretty cheap to use. The trigger is better than you might expect, and keep in mind this gun can carry 10 rounds in a very small, reliable package. Overall, I think Phoenix has done a good job of backing up their product too. They appear to be responsive to their customers. Just make sure that you've registered your gun with them within 30 days of purchase. The warranty is limited lifetime but only granted to the original owner. And aftermarket support of the HP22 is actually pretty good. Phoenix Arms provides a good assortment of parts and accessories at a very reasonable cost in today's market. Disassembly and reassembly of this gun is a little awkward, but gets better with practice. I found controlling the recoil spring to be the most challenging part of the process, but I'll show you a technique that seemed to help. First, check that the gun is unloaded. Leave the magazine in place, leave the safety off, and leave the hammer back in the cock position. Slide the takedown lever forward and push the slide back just a little while pushing up on the end of the barrel. The barrel should tilt up, keeping the slide down on the frame while covering the front area with your hand to catch the recoil spring if it tries to fly out. Tilt the barrel up and away from the slide. With your finger over the recoil spring, allow the slide to come forward, pulling up on the rear of the slide, and you can now remove the slide from the frame. The recoil spring and guide can then be removed. Push the safety up and you can remove the magazine. Reassembly can be tricky. I found reassembling in reverse order to be the best way, with one exception. Return the magazine, take the safety off, return the takedown unit, guide, and recoil spring to the slide. They go in like this. Just tilt the takedown unit a little bit and it'll fit back down in there. And then the recoil spring. Return the slide to the frame, catching the spring at the front of the slide. Let the slide come down on the frame with fingers on the inside holding the recoil spring down. Bring the slide back and lock the slide in place with the safety on. The recoil spring should be completely compressed and the slide locked in place. There's a rod inside the frame right there, and that is where we lock in the barrel notch here. Now you can easily return the barrel to the slide by inserting the notch on the lower rear of the barrel into that bar on the frame. Rotate the barrel down and it will snap into place. Release the slide by taking the safety off, and that's it. Now I found that the Phoenix HP22A has been selling for about $175 new as of today, which is about a $20 drop from earlier this year. That would suggest that there could still be some good bargains out there on the 3-inch Model 22. Used HP22As have been selling for an average of about $160, which seems a bit high to me, but probably just reflects demand and availability of inexpensive firearms. And while the 5-inch model has been sold recently for as much as $300, the deluxe range kit with both 3 and 5-inch barrels has sold for as low as $250. So keep an eye out and you may find a pretty good deal out there. But don't be surprised if the prices continue to rise. Now before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. The Phoenix HP22A is a modern product with a troubled past, but it appears to have actually moved beyond its poorly made junk gun heritage. I'm certainly not saying the Phoenix HP22A is a great quality made gun, and the finish may not be refined, and the safeties, especially the magazine interlocked, are a nuisance. This is not a family heirloom piece by any stretch of the imagination, but if you judge it based upon what you paid for it, it's not bad. The important thing is that it does seem to work, although you need to consider what your expectations are for owning one. As with all 22s, the HP22A is underpowered as a personal defense weapon, but it's better than nothing. I suggest you really practice shot placement if you think you're going to depend on it. Okay, so what do I think? Well, there's no doubt that the Phoenix HP22A is a long ways from its roots. As 22 pistols go, and I own quite a few 22s, I think the HP22A functions better than its price would suggest. The good news is that Phoenix has made an affordable, reliable little firearm. And I'll admit I enjoy shooting this little gun, especially with a 3-inch barrel. But to be honest, and given that you could buy a Taurus PT22 with rosewood grips for the same amount of money, or even the very popular Walther P22 for just $50 more, I'm not so sure the Phoenix Arms PT22A is really the best choice you could make. Personally, I go for the Walther any day. But if you really like the HP22A and the fact that you can get parts and accessories fairly cheap, you'd actually be in pretty good company. After 30 years of production of the Phoenix HP22A, it appears that there are a lot of owners out there that would agree, and that's something to consider. Any weapon you carry is better than one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.